Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernst Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl is the final bowl game on December 26th, and it's between the Kansas Jayhawks, who are 8-4, and the UNLV Rebels, who are 9-4. Both of these teams, a few years ago, no one would have thought that they would have had this good of a season, but Barry Odom has led UNLV to one of the best seasons that they've had in a very long time. They went to the Mountain West title game, but they fell short to the Boise State Broncos, but that should not take away from the great season that they had. And Lance Leipold, he has been able to turn the Jayhawks around from a bottom dweller in the Big 12 to a very competent football team and a team that can actually hang with some of the better squads in the conference. And it looks like as long as Lance Leipold stays with Kansas, they should be able to continue to have success in the future. And Kansas had to deal with a lot of adversity because their starting quarterback, Jalon Daniels, he missed a lot of time this year, and their backup quarterback, Jason Bean, who led Kansas to a big victory over Texas 2 years ago, he had a good season with 1,681 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 4 picks in the limited amount of games that he played with Jalon Daniels out. He actually got hurt as well, but Jason Bean will be playing in this bowl game with Jalon Daniels still out. Devin Neal's a great running back. He had over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns, and Lawrence Arnold had 650 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. But UNLV has good players as well. Maiava had 2,794 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 8 picks. And they have a solid running back with Vincent Davis Jr., who had over 700 yards. And Ricky White had 1,386 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he was the biggest receiver by far for UNLV. The FBI predictor is Kansas favored with a 72% chance to win. And the betting odds also favor Kansas by a hefty amount, being favored by over 12 points. Me and WillND, we break down this Guaranteed Rate Bowl and whether we believe that the UNLV Rebels can upset the Kansas Jayhawks and Barry Odom can lead the Rebels to their 10th win of the season, or do we believe that Lance Leipold, without Jalon Daniels, that Kansas can win this bowl game with Jason Bean at quarterback for the Jayhawks to get their 9th win of the year and help the Big 12 get a big win for Bowl Mania? Kansas UNLV in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Kansas, they were all over the place this season because you had Jalon Daniels at quarterback, then you had Jason Bean at quarterback, and then they had a third string at quarterback. So they were up and down. And they weathered the storm throughout most of the season with all the injuries, but they were still able to find a way to have success. That shows you the good job that Lance Leipold has done there, that even when they don't have their starting quarterback, they can still win. UNLV, they were a great story this season. But unfortunately for UNLV, they kind of didn't do as good toward the end of the year. But that was not a good look for UNLV to lose to Boise State the way that they did because they got blown out. But still, Barry Odom, it was a success because UNLV has not been good in football in a long time. So I was very impressive that they had the year that they did. I think they went like 9-4. Kansas went 8-4, and UNLV went 9-4. And the odds makers, they have Kansas favored by 12.5 points. So they're riding Kansas big. So even though, Rob, as you say, good matchup, they're going with UNLV big here. As you see the spread for this one, Will, they got UNLV as a 12.5 point underdog to Kansas.
That must mean that, do they think that Jalon Daniels is coming back, or is it going to be Jason Bean? Do you know?
That could be the case because they only have one defensive lineman for Kansas in the portal, and UNLV has a couple guys, but nothing super significant. Mm-hmm. But if Kansas doesn't really have any opt-out, which I'm sure that they really wouldn't because, again, they're a school that wants to get bowl wins because they don't normally have success on a regular basis, so it'd be big for them to get this win. I mean, they're, like I said, being favored by 12.5, that's a hefty amount.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the confidence voices. I have a lot of respect for Jeffrey and Will. They have a bunch of mouths. Really appreciate that, Rob. Appreciate it. Appreciate you for being here. We love doing these shows every week. A lot of fun talking college football. Hate the season's almost over. We got a few more weeks to go with a couple more weeks left with bowls and the championship, you know, and everything with the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. So appreciate you for being here. But, yeah, this game, if Jalon Daniels is playing, there's no way I'm picking UNLV. If Jason Bean's playing, it makes it a little bit more interesting, but I'm probably still going Kansas. Have you found anything on Daniels?
I'm looking. Do you want to look at the UNLV schedule for a sec?
Yeah, they lost to Michigan. They beat Vanderbilt. That was, I guess you would say, their big win. They beat an SEC school, but Vanderbilt was awful this season. They beat UTEP, Hawaii, Nevada, Colorado State, but all those teams were bad, though. I mean, none of those were good teams this year. Lost to Fresno State, beat New Mexico. Wyoming was a good win. They beat Air Force on the road, but that's when Air Force was really falling apart. So it just seems like UNLV, yet again, like with a lot of these other teams that have had comparable records, they've beaten a lot of the bad teams in the league. The best win's probably at Air Force. Even better than the Vandy win. It's probably at Air Force because even though Air Force fell apart, winning on the road was a good win. But still, there's not a lot of meat on their resume of good wins. Vandy and at Air Force and Wyoming are the best wins.
Jalen Daniels is not coming back. His shoulder was separated, so.
Okay, so he's done. So it's probably Bean then.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Kansas as long as Jason Bean's playing since Daniels out. I'm assuming Bean's playing since they're favored by 12.5. I'll go with Kansas to beat UNLV 31-20.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be a close game, but with that Conference Championship game at home against Boise, they just did not play well. I'll go 38-20. I'll go a bit more for the Jayhawks.
Yeah, I just think that overall UNLV was propped up a bit by their schedule. They were able to get a couple decent wins. They had a good year, and it should be celebrated because UNLV's been awful for so long, but I think that their season was a bit inflated. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think that the Kansas Jayhawks or the UNLV Rebels win this bowl game and why, and what you think about me and WillND's pick for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.